Hey, what's going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome back into the Fantasy Headliners. Kyle and Chris here with some 2021 rookie rankings. The NFL Draft is over. We finally know landing spots for all of these guys, but we need to talk about some redraft rankings. Now, quick plug for Chris and all the great work that he's doing over at Headliner U. Make sure you subscribe there because he's going to be dropping his Dynasty rankings over there, okay? Completely different rankings. For these purposes, in this video, we're only talking about 2021 and what we think players are going to do this year. But Chris, we've got some really, really good rookies this year. Are you ready to talk about them?
Man, I'm so excited, man. This class, you know what? A lot of hatred on a lot of these running backs. I don't hate it, but trying to get your top 5 and top 10 ranks, it was a little difficult for me because I like a lot of this talent here, man.
Yeah, it's always difficult trying to rank rookies, especially this early in the offseason. But lots of things can change. And we say this with our rankings all the time, especially when we're talking about these things in early May. Lots of things will change leading through the offseason, different information we find out, maybe different research that we do, which causes us to maybe switch some things up. So these are still really early. Make sure you take them with a little bit of a grain of salt, but we're going to talk through them. And really, when I do rookie rankings, I'm really focused on who has the best opportunity. Now, I know some people look at, okay, talent wins out. I'm going to take talent every single day. And when you look at some of these rankings, Chris, I think the people will see that I might be taking opportunity into consideration where you're looking at, man, opportunity is great, but talent, that's what we want.
Yeah, I got a little bit of a good mix going. I think opportunity, I get it, especially for running backs. Everyone wants to be the volume pig. Where's the volume coming from? Sometimes it could take you a couple weeks, but then you just get on that hitch and these guys take over and you might find yourself a fantasy football gem.
Yeah. So who's the next Justin Jefferson? Who's the next Jonathan Taylor? But before we get into those big timers, let's talk about the quarterbacks first. And our first couple of guys, well, they're the same. At quarterback, you and I are exactly the same. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson at number 1 and number 2. Not really a whole lot of a debate there, Chris.
Yeah, no, I like both landing spots because, Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson are likely going to be day one starters. So, if we're talking about bye-week fill-ins, I think you're pretty safe in that respect. Could we see one of them end up being like a Justin Herbert? It's very possible. The Jets reloaded their offensive weapons. The Jags have offensive weapons. So, either or, you can't really go wrong. I think we'll get a good sense of what they're going to be by around like week 4.
Yeah, both of these guys in prime positions to be starting in week 1 and to offer us 16 games of absolute value, which a lot of times with rookie quarterbacks, you don't get that, which is why our next set of rankings are a little bit different. So 3, 4, and 5, we agree on 5. Trey Lance is at number 5. But at 3 and 4, we've got them switched. I've got Justin Fields, then Mac Jones and Trey Lance. And you've got Mac Jones, Justin Fields, and then Trey Lance. So why the little nod to Mac Jones there over Fields this year? You really think the Red Rifle's gonna be the guy for a while?
Yeah, so I've coined him as Mac Money Jones, and I think it's going to continue because here's the thing. It's Cam Newton effect. I have no disrespect to Cam. I just think injuries have finally taken its toll. We saw what happened last season. I think, the writing is on the wall. They wanted to have Cam still there to school up the youngster, to give him some experience, some tutelage. And I think Jones is really that good. I think, he doesn't have the mobility, the sexy mobility everybody wants out of a quarterback nowadays. But I think literally by like week 4, depending on how Cam plays, I think Jones will step in. And the way that they'll build this offense around him as the pocket passer, a.k.a. how they did for Tom Brady, I think it's just going to be a perfect fit. And I think if Jones gets in, I really question if he'll give the job back to Cam Newton.
Yeah, for me, I'm going Fields over Jones just because I think the pressure for the coaching staff in Chicago and the front office is going to be a little bit higher than what it will be in New England. So I just feel like if Andy Dalton, even if he goes out and he gets off to a pretty decent start, people are going to want Justin Fields. I also think that there's an opportunity for Justin Fields to just flat out win that job. I mean, one thing that we know this year, more than likely, is that we're going to have a preseason, unlike last year. So these guys coming into this season are going to have a shot to win these jobs. We're going to get a full rookie camp. We're going to get a full training camp. We're going to get all these things. I just feel like the pressure from the fans for needing to win. I mean, that coaching staff there knows that they're on their last leg. If they don't win now, they're going to want to see Justin Fields in action sooner rather than later, and that's why I've got him just a little bit higher than Mac Jones. But Mac Jones, obviously, I agree with a lot of what you said. He could end up coming in a little bit earlier as well. And I both think when it comes to Trey Lance, we think that probably a year out for him at this point. Jimmy G, if he's healthy, he's going to start, but Trey Lance could take over at any point. Let's go ahead and hop into the running backs. Everybody gets excited about the sexy rookie running backs. So I'm going to put our top 5 up on the screen first. Kind of the same to start with. We both have Najee Harris at number 1. Then we get a little bit different at number 2 and 3. I've got Michael Carter and then Travis Etienne. You've got Travis Etienne and then Michael Carter. Just a small bump for me over Michael Carter. Kind of like I said at the beginning of the video, when I look at incoming opportunity, I feel like Michael Carter has the best opportunity to win that job and hold it. Whereas Travis Etienne, he's got the draft capital. He's going to play. I just think you see a little bit more James Robinson earlier in the year to start.
Yeah, it's difficult to argue that. I mean, the reason why is just because Etienne is that home run hitter. And when you got a guy who is legit this good at finding the end zone, making electric plays, you know that they drafted him for a reason. Robinson isn't part of this new regime. So you know what, Etienne, I truly believe it's going to be a 50-50 split to start the season, if not 60-40 going to Robinson. But as we start going on, I would be even like week 3, maybe week 4, kind of like we saw with DeAndre Swift. You know, his coming out party was week 5 last year. I think this is kind of the same situation we're going to see. I think goal line short yardage, you're going to start to see Robinson. And then when Etienne gets the home run hits, I think, you know, it's going to be very difficult to pull him off the field, especially having the chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I like it a lot. I mean, over Michael Carter, I do get it. I mean, here's the volume effect like you're talking about. He's in New York. I mean, there's not a whole lot of competition, but I still got to go Etienne over Carter at this point.
Yeah, I definitely, and, you know, I feel like I'm the number 1 James Robinson truther. So seeing him take that hit, it hurt a little bit. But I also know that when a guy's value's up, it's up. And James Robinson is not going to make too much of a difference for too long. It's just one of those things where, you know, hey, are we going to be competing right away? If we're not, do we want to get ETN all banged up this year? But like I've told a lot of people who are like, this was a stupid pick. I don't think it was a stupid pick at all. I think it was a great pick. ETN fits what Myers does scheme-wise much, much better than what James Robinson does. I don't think it was a wasted pick at all. I think it was absolutely needed. I love the pick. He's going to end up winning out before too long. Javonte Williams at number 4. We both agree there with him in Denver. A little bit of a difference there at number 5. You've got Kenneth Gainwell. I've got Trey Sermon. I just think volume-wise, we end up possibly seeing a little bit more from Sermon just because we've seen some issues trying to stay healthy there with the running backs that we have. It's a little bit more of a rotating door there where you've got guys hopping in, you got guys injured and missing weeks. I do like Gainwell, though. Unfortunately, I do think he's going to have a pretty big impact on Miles Sanders this year.
Yeah, and I mean, for me with the Trey Sermon thing, I like the skill set, and it was about landing spot for both Gainwell and Trey Sermon for me. Massive, because we outside of Etienne and Harris, you really don't understand, you know, what these guys are going to do within their respective backfields. Now, when you put Trey Sermon, Kyle Shanahan, we know Kyle Shanahan, he likes to have like 1,000 running backs in his room so that he can mix and match and protect himself. Here's the situation with Sermon for me. I think he is good enough to lead a backfield, even being okay, you want to say 3 down back? I think that it's very possible. His hands are very underrated. But for me, it is, the Miles Sanders thing. He does not stay healthy. When have we seen him really perform for the entire full 16 game slate? I think Gainwell really does complement him in the same respect that they don't have to change the system when either one of them are in. So now you can be multidimensional and nobody will understand what it is you're doing because you're going to be doing the same things. So, and even then, I think, a 65 to 35 split, still going to Miles. I do like the PPR upside for Gainwell. I think the way that they're going to give Hurts a lot more options, a lot more opportunities. I think that Gainwell, to me, with the PPR upside, is where I'm going rather than Trey Sermon, where when you don't really know when he's going to get in just because of Mostert and Wilson ahead of him at this point.
And I agree with you on Gainwell. Why? Because I've got him at number 6. So throwing up number 6 through 10 now. At number 6, I've got Gainwell. Number 7, and we differ quite a bit back here. I've got Jared Dokes at number 7, Chris Evans at number 8, Ramondre Stevenson at number 9, and Chuba Hubbard at 10. I love seeing Stevenson for you at number 6. Let's talk about him first. Definitely a guy. I know Jake has mentioned this in our group chat a couple of times. LeGarrette Blount 2.0. I was devastated when the Lions signed Jamal Williams because I really wanted them to draft Stevenson to go with Swift, but it didn't happen. I like Stevenson. I think we're just a year away because we're going to have to wait for Sony Michel to get out of town first.
Yeah, so to that point, I mean, you know what it is? I think it's going to take some time. I think Stevenson is going to be a good waiver wire addition. But once he gets on the field, so we've already heard the rumblings, okay? I mean, it's early. It's May. So the rumblings are saying it's going to be a Harris and Sony tandem in the backfield. I think Sony's knees are done. I really do. The man runs so hard. His knees are just completely done. I think Stevenson is like that Corey Dillon-esque type of guy. He has the speed. He has very shifty ability. His hands. Do not question this man's hands. I'll tell you this right now. Everyone doesn't believe that he can catch. His hands are not a liability. And this is why I think it's a very different approach for the New England Patriots. You bring in Mac Jones if he does play, and then now you bring in the double multi-tight end set again. So now you're going heavy offense again. The receivers, we're going to be saying meh to them all year long, and you're going to be doing double tight end sets with 2 heavy running backs in Stevenson and Harris. I think that's going to be very difficult to stop, and that's why I got Ramondre sitting at 6.
Okay, you're our contract guy. Is James White on a 1-year deal? I can't remember now.
I believe he is.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, long term, absolutely love Stevenson in that offense. It's probably just going to take a year for it to happen, and then we see a Stevenson-Harris type of role going forward next year. And then when Mac Jones takes over full-time, and would love to see them maybe get an alpha wide receiver at some point, then at that point, man, that offense could really be back. Chuba Hubbard at number 7 for you. I've got him at number 10. We saw what Mike Davis did last year when he took over while Christian McCaffrey was out. I've got Hubbard a little bit lower just because I feel like they're probably going to limit some of CMC's touches this year, just kind of dial it back a little bit, therefore leading to him be a little bit healthier. So Chuba might not see the field too much this year, but I mean, we talked about him in some of our Headliner U videos. We couldn't figure out why the dude just disappeared, but nobody was talking about him anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, he's very explosive, and this is the thing. I think he is a great complement to what CMC is and what he requires. We've been saying this for how long? CMC, he is too efficient with his carries regardless. So why are you feeding him 5,000 carries a year? I mean, you have to dial it back. You saw what happened, the injuries. I think Chuba comes in, and he is actually going to be a very sound complement. Is he redraft reliable at this point? I mean, it's to be seen. He may have his games until he actually carves out a role, but Sam Darnold is going to need all the help he can get, and that's why I kind of have him at that point, because injury aside, I mean, there is opportunity for him to take some work as a third down change of pace back.
Yeah, you got Trey Sermon at number 8. We talked about him a little bit already. You've got Javian Hawkins at number 9. He's not on my list, and I have Dokes at number 7, and he is not on your list. So right. The reason I didn't put Hawkins on here is because I feel like the Falcons are going to bring Gurley back. And I don't know what it is. It probably won't end up happening, but I've got this feeling that they're just going to end up signing him and bringing him back to pair with Mike Davis, which we mentioned a couple of minutes ago about Carolina. But, Hawkins is a guy I think could step in and help spell Mike Davis, especially if Mike Davis doesn't end up working out. And with he doesn't really have, a whole lot backing him up. He doesn't have any draft capital like Hawkins might. So they might be willing to move to him a little bit quicker. I go with Dokes at number 7 just because I think he could potentially beat out Ahmed, especially if he can't stay healthy again and ends up getting hurt. But I'm really glad that they didn't spend a high pick on a running back here because I didn't want that to happen. I wanted to see Gaskin get his shot, and he's going to now. So what's the difference in Dokes and Hawkins for you?
See, first of all, don't be bashing my man Ahmed because I've been preaching this boy forever, man.
You have been. You have been.
We got to keep him still. I was raising the roof on draft day when they didn't pick somebody for Ahmed's sake. But anyway, I digress. Hawkins to me is very interesting. I mean, he's an undrafted rookie free agent. I was literally surprised he didn't go drafted. But this was the best landing spot for him. So the Atlanta Falcons, they didn't really address their defense as much as I would have thought they would have. Now they go get Kyle Pitts. Now they have Davis, like you said. He's going to be the primary running back. But now with Hawkins, he does possess that Naheem Hines type of skill set. He can play in the pass game. Now, we know the Atlanta Falcons, to compete in this division, they're going to have to put up 35 to 40 points weekly. So you're going to need all the horses at every single opportunity. Now with Pitts in there, you still have Julio, barring a trade, of course. I think that, he could jump anybody in this running back room to take that third down role, and he's very quick and electric. So, I mean, he will provide so long as he shows the coaching staff he is worthy of these touches.
And then I've got Chris Evans at number 8. You've got him at number 10, a guy that went from wide receiver, turned running back, turned suspended player, turned back to running back while he was at Michigan. We know we know that he knows how to run his routes. We know that he knows how to catch the ball and can catch the ball. I just don't see a whole lot from him just because they were coming out just last week and saying, Joe Mixon, we think he can handle 3 downs.
Yeah, and I agree with him. We've been pretty big Mixon supporters. I mean, you're probably one of the biggest Mixon guys I think I know. But I mean, I'm a huge fan too, right? But I mean, for Evan's sake, I mean, I like the skill set. I think in Michigan he got a raw deal. Whatever happened with the suspension, I mean, hopefully he cleans everything up. He is going to have to work really hard to get on this field, and if he does well, the skill set is there to take over for Gio Bernard, and I think he would fit in extremely well, even better than they would have anticipated with Gio, because like you said, Evans does have that receiving skill set. So it's going to be lights out in the receiving game. And I think that's where he'll probably make his money. Highest you're ever going to get from Evans is weekly potential flex options on matchup play.
Mm-hmm. So let's move on to wide receivers now, and we really differ here. So at wide receiver, I go Devonta Smith at number 1, Amari Rodgers at number 2. That might catch a few people off guard. And then Jalen Waddle, Rashad Bateman, and Jamar Chase, another one that people are probably going to be like, what in the hell are you talking about, Kyle? And that's why I wanted to make sure at the beginning of the video, I said this is for 2021 only. And then you've got Chase at 1, Smith at 2, Waddle at 3, Elijah Moore makes your top 5 at number 4, and Amari Rodgers at number 5 for you. Really the big difference for me here, kind of to go through my top 5, when I look at it, I see available targets. Who's going to have the most available targets? Who's going to have the best option to be targeted? Smith, to me, definitely has the top option there. Love Reagor, but Smith is a guy that could come in and take targets from Reagor right away. Also, do we end up seeing Kelsey traded at any point in time? Or not Kelsey, Ertz, my bad. Do we see Ertz traded at any point in time? That was a talk, quite a few weeks ago. It's kind of settled back down at this point and haven't heard a whole lot of it. Amari Rodgers with me at number 2 becomes that Randall Cobb type player that Aaron Rodgers used to have. Obviously, they don't have like a number 2 there. Tunyon kind of stepped in last year and filled that role. MVS and Lazard have kind of gone back and forth. Devin Funchess is going to be back, but Amari Rodgers, I think, could step in right away and kind of be that number 2. We both have number 3, Jalen Waddle. I definitely have him in the top 5 because I don't think that Parker is a guy that boasts too much of a threat to Waddle. If Waddle's healthy and 100%, we're good. Bateman at number 4 because I think he can outperform Marquise Brown. I'm not saying it will happen, but Bateman is a much more well-rounded number 1 type wide receiver than what Brown is. I think he'll be more consistent than what Brown would be. And Jamar Chase at number 5 for me, it's just because you got to fight through so many guys. You got to fight through, you got to fight through Tyler Boyd. You got to fight through T. Higgins. Joe Mixon obviously is going to be on the field. They're going to be running the ball, I believe, a little bit more this year. I don't think they're going to let Burrow throw the ball as much, especially as he comes back from that knee injury. So I just think that he's going to have a little bit more time to kind of play catch up there. But again, we're a little bit different there. So looking at your top 5, what do you see in there?
Yeah, so I'm going Chase right off the bat only because of the connection with Joe Burrow. I think he was the catalyst in telling this general manager to say, pick my guy, and we're going to do wondrous things. The thing is, I'm not a Tyler Boyd hater. I mean, I think he's a good talent. I think he is the odd man out personally in this offense. I think it goes Chase. I think it goes Higgins, and then they morph around this offense. I understand he plays the slot, and then you think, okay, well, how is this going to work with all 3 of them? I think it's Chase and Higgins the whole time. Smith, I like it number 2 because, like we've been saying, you got to give Hurts as many weapons as possible, and now he has the opportunity to be in an offense that is going to do try to do wondrous things. I think the receptions are going to just come in bunches. Waddle for me at number 3. I could even make a case for him at number 2. Here's why: because I don't believe Will Fuller can make a whole year without the PEDs and without injuries. And if that's the case, then there opens up Waddle's receptions and target share that much more. I said Waddle in this class, he could be, if used properly, the best rookie out of this class in 2021, statistically. I think that could definitely happen. When it comes to Elijah Moore, I really, truly loved his film. His skill set is amazing. His hands are just amazing. The bolt lightning speed. I mean, everything I can say about this man, he is that good. In New York, this is the thing. So this pick, I'm already putting a little bit high at 4, only because I'm assuming they're going to get rid of Jamison Crowder after training camp. This is kind of what I see, what I feel. But I mean, could they coexist? It's very possible because, I mean, Mims is still unproven. Corey Davis isn't your alpha wide receiver. Perhaps they want both slot possession wide receivers to be the assistants for Zach Wilson and to progress him that much further. Amari Rodgers for me at 5. I mean, he's been my guy the entire offseason. I love his talent. I love his skill set. He is a bigger, faster Randall Cobb. 110%. Going to Green Bay, I think, was just beautiful and magic. But the thing is, this will totally change, in my opinion, if Aaron Rodgers leaves, obviously. That is the caveat that we really have to pay attention to. When you put him at number 2, I don't hate it whatsoever because the volume is going to be there. I was being a little bit in the middle saying, is Rodgers going to return? Is he not? But I mean, at number 2, it's definitely justifiable for Rodgers because I think he is that good.
Yeah, and I'm moving forward as if Rodgers will be there. But this is the NFL. Anything can happen at any point in time. If it does, though, breaking news video will happen, even if I got to leave work to come home and do it. All right, looking at number 6 through 10, we differ quite a bit here as well. I've got Elijah Moore, who you just talked about, at number 8. The reason I've got him a little bit lower is because right now Jamison Crowder is there. If Jamison Crowder leaves, Elijah Moore will shoot up and be into that top 5 for me 100%. So Nico Collins, a guy that you don't have in your top 10, I go within my top 10 just because I think that he's going to have a potential for quite a bit of targets, and I like him as kind of that red zone, end zone guy. Some toss-up passes. Right now, I am not really making a decision on whether or not we see Watson. Obviously, the situation is awful. Don't really have any other breakdown of it at this point. We just got to let the legal process and everything play out. So I'm going with Collins right here just because of potential target share. Kadarius Toney, I think both of us are much lower on him than what Giants fans are at this point. But again, it's 2021. Yep. Long term, it could end up being a lot different, but you still have Shepard there. You still have Saquon Barkley. You still have Evan Ingram. You still have Darius Slayton. You still have Kenny Galladay. That's a lot of touches to spread around. Talked about Elijah Moore already at 8. At number 9, Rondale Moore. You and I agree there. I think it's basically kind of the same thing. There's a lot of mouths to feed there, and they're still going to run the football quite a bit. And then a guy that you don't have in your top 10 that I do, Dez Fitzpatrick for Tennessee. They're going to have somebody opposite of A.J. Brown. And not only that, A.J. Brown played through last year with a lot of injuries. It would be hard for me to believe if he gets injured again. He's going to play 16 games with that type of injury. It's tough to do that in back-to-back seasons, to be that banged up and play through it. So Dez Fitzpatrick, I get in my top 10. You got a couple of guys that I don't. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown at number 6 for the Lions, and you've got Dyami Brown at number 8 from Washington.
Yeah, I mean, for me, St. Brown, this is where I kind of mix and match. I think that he has the ability to be the target stealer in Detroit. You know this, you're a Lions fan, man. You guys are starving for wide receiving talent. And I mean, Brown is very good. I think he is very underrated, under the radar. And I mean, it could take a little bit of time for him to get, I mean, like every other rookie, it might take a couple games for them to get their feet wet. But once they do, Jared Goff, I mean, okay, I get it. You know, everyone's going to say that he's not a good quarterback. He's playing in a dome. Okay, I don't foresee anything going wrong in Detroit outside of himself missing his wide receivers. And Brown, to me, has the ability and the potential to be that fabulous rookie potential wide receiving breakout. For me, I mean, Bateman, I think, you know, it's a justifiable placement for him, because will he make Lamar Jackson better? I think that is the key caveat, and I think he could be a big red zone target for him. And for having Brown to Washington, I love the skill set. So kind of like I was saying with the New York Jets, I think Washington will mix and match with Curtis Samuel and Brown. Brown is very dynamic in the same way that Samuel is. And now you have that mismatch. So now you can have Terry going deep and over the middle a lot more than you did before with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now you have so many options that it also increases the run game. And for me, having Kadarius Toney at number 10, this is it, man. You got to pump the brakes in 2021 for Toney, because they have too much talent. Okay, they signed Kenny Golladay, they have Shepard, they have the other Slayton, and now you bring in Toney. I mean, how are you really going to utilize him? You know how I foresee this? It's like the KJ Hamler, Tavon Austin effect. This is kind of how I feel like they're going to underutilize him, and a lot of people are going to be dumping their shares if they draft him, I think, by like midway point of the season.
And do we really expect Jason Garrett to be
that creative?
To be creative enough to get him involved?
Not even.
Oh man, I think that's a big point to think about there too. But yeah, I mean, if there's injuries, then yeah, 100% Toney can step up. But until I see those injuries again in May, we don't have them, so I can't rank him much higher than where I've got him at number 7. And I'm even being a little bit more generous than you are. Moving on to tight ends, we agree for the first 3 tight ends, which honestly I think pretty much everybody will this year for the most part. Obviously, Kyle Pitts is going to be at number 1. We've got Pat Freiermuth at number 2. Both of those guys have opportunities to make immediate impacts. I mean, if I'm going super bold hot take, it would be that Freiermuth outscores Pitts this year, but I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to be that bold or that crazy. There's just a whole lot of talent around Kyle Pitts. Does Julio stay healthy? Does he not? Had an interesting conversation on Twitter about that yesterday. Freiermuth, I both think will fit very well in this Steelers offense. He's not going to get a whole lot of coverage that he's not going to be able to beat. If it weren't for Pitts being in this draft, Freiermuth would have been the clear-cut number 1 tight end. And I think he's going to fit well with getting the ball out of Ben's hands quickly and that short kind of passing game that we saw last year at times. And then Tommy Tremble can come in and, Ian Thomas hasn't been that big of a deal. He can steal that job right away.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Kyle Pitts, we've already discussed ad nauseum. I think we already know what he's going to be, but the Muth, I'm calling him Truth in the Muth. I think this is what we got to do for this man, because he is good. He is the full package tight end you're looking for. Is he fleet of foot? Not really, but he can run down the field. I mean, this is what you require. Everyone was kind of comping him to be like an old school Heath Miller. I think that's a little bit less of what I want to say to him. I think he's a little bit better than that. But what he is going to do from day one is he's going to be blocking. Why? Because he can do it, number 1, and because the Pittsburgh Steelers require it. It's kind of like the Austin Hooper effect last year in Cleveland. Okay. He started the year off blocking, and then as the season wore on, I mean, we talked about it in the previous offseason for Austin Hooper the exact same way. And I think it's going to be exactly this way for the Muth, because he can still catch. He's going to be in the red zone, and Big Ben loves these guys, man. It's been a long time since we've seen him have a tight end of this caliber. And when we talk about Tommy Tremble, this guy is going so far under the radar in his pass catching ability because Notre Dame just just never used him in that category. And Tremble is the best blocking tight end in this draft. I would say he could be and start pushing others to be the best blocking tight end in this league in the first year after we see it. He is legit that good at blocking. But if he ups his IQ in the pass game, I truly believe he is going to displace Ian Thomas, and it's not even going to be a question.
And the last two at number 4 and number 5, honestly, it's not going to matter. Neither of these guys are going to make an impact in 2021. So it doesn't matter. But I got Trey McKitty coming in from the Los Angeles Chargers. You know, they're going to have to obviously replace production loss from Hunter Henry. And I don't believe Jared Cook really has anything left. So there's always an opportunity there for him. Luke Farrell, I think, is interesting coming out of Ohio State, being drafted by Urban Meyer there in Jacksonville. It's going to be basically the same system that he's used to playing in. So that could be a little bit of an impact right away. For the Jets at number 4, you've got Kenny Yeboah. And then at number 5 from the Houston Texans, you've got Brevin Jordan, which you raved about Brevin Jordan this offseason. If I had to pick a place for him, he'd be at number 6 right behind Farrell for me. But it's going to be very close.
Yeah, and for me, Yeboah is this kind of guy you just want to keep your eye on, okay? And the reason is the New York Jets and this Chris Herndon thing. I mean, let's give it up already. Nobody is going to be – I still see people on Twitter supporting Herndon, and I'm like, what is wrong with you people? All jokes aside. But, I mean, Yeboah to me is this guy. He's extremely athletic and electric. He just needs to round out his overall game, and he could literally take that job. The New York Jets, this is opportunity. We talk about opportunity and volume. He has the potential to get there. He just has to school up his game. And when it comes to Brevin Jordan in Houston, I mean, again, it's the Deshaun Watson effect. If he plays, Jordan to me is very similar to a David Njoku. He can be that type of guy that Njoku, we all wanted him to be, and he just never came to fruition. Brevin Jordan could be that guy, and we'll see how it shakes down with Watson.
All right, there you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, our rookie rankings for redraft leagues are in the books. Appreciate Chris hopping over here and helping me out with some rankings. Now, if there's some players that showed up in these rankings that maybe you hadn't really heard of or hadn't done a whole lot of research on, that's why you should be subscribing at Headliner U, because we've been talking about these guys all off season long. But before you leave here to go do that, make sure if you're new to the channel, you hit subscribe here, become a part of Headliner Nation today. Hit that like button down below, and then let us know in the comments, who are you going to be targeting for rookies in your redraft leagues? Obviously, we've got guys like Pitts and Harris and Waddle and everybody else. That's the big names at the very top that you're going to be going after. But what about a couple of under the radar guys? Is there any guys that we mentioned here today that you're like, man, I really need to have them on my team? Let us know down in the comments below. But everybody, thanks for tuning in to this episode. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.